Thank you, Lily. Good morning, Monte Vista. My name is Carissa Mohr. I'm the treasurer of your board of trustees for one more year, and here are today's announcements. Our new tenant has accepted the keys. Yay! Debbie and Lynn Maria presented her with the keys and a very pretty little oak tree. Oh, thank you. On Tuesday, and so we are good to go there. Next week is the Lead with Love service, honoring our volunteers and staff, followed by the Sizzling Summer Barbecue Fundraiser Luncheon and the Teams and Task Force Fair. To talk more about the luncheon, here are Betsy and Kay.
Yeah, good to see you too. Oh, but if you could, I've been going to ask you the same thing. I was just thinking about things to do next week because I finally have some time to enjoy myself, and I've been just so busy I can't even think sometimes. But I don't want to cook in my own hot kitchen. I'm for sure I don't want to do that.
No, you do not want to do that. No fun in this heat. But I have a great idea that will keep you out of the kitchen, get you some delicious summer food to savor, great friendly people, and easy, cool games to play.
Sounds too good to be true. I'm on a really tight budget.
Yeah, it's rough, but this lunch, this is the best part. This will cost you just $15 and get this. You'll have your choice of fresh grilled beef or veggie burgers, potato salad, baked beans, corn on the cob, vegetable pasta salad, and chips, and dessert too. Watermelon or brownies with ice cream. We'll also make sure you stay hydrated with water and lemonade too. Or for $5 a glass, our super bartender, Becky Pettit, will be shaking up summer delight watermelon margaritas, or beer or wine. Oh, and if you bring your own plate and utensils, you'll be among the first served. We'll even have lunch kits to sell for your personal use for this lunch and all of our foodie events for just $5 for one person and $7.50 for a double kit. We've got you covered, Kay.
Wow. Still sounds too good to be true, but where is this fabulous luncheon being held?
Right here, next Sunday, July 13th at 12 noon on the patio.
Oh, well, I thought you were talking about a fabulous restaurant.
Well, it is the fabulous, friendly fundraiser Sunday Cafe.
Well, it sounds perfect, but since I've been so busy, I haven't been able to spend much time with my dog, and I need to have to visit her home to go out to eat someplace. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, no worries there either. Even our minister knows his dog. And here's mine.
You've got to be kidding. Seriously? Well, that's pretty fabulous, actually. Where do I sign up?
See Murray Smith. He's the guy with the clipboard. And just be sure to bring you $15 by cash, check, or Zelle before or at the luncheon, and maybe some cash for extra fun, because you can play any or all of 3 games for $5, and you might even win a medal. So we're all about having a good time in those lazy, hazy, crazy days of summer.
All right, thank you, ladies. The Teams and Task Force Fair is your opportunity to learn more about the ways you can volunteer your time and talents here at NVUUC. So be sure to check out the tables during dessert at the luncheon. If your team has any questions, please talk to Laura Mulroy or Amy Randall. And finally, can I get a drum roll, please? After many years, our own Catherine Rowlee has finally retired. And on that note, I will turn the microphone over to Catherine to start us off.
Thank you. That was a surprise. Okay, I am opening the service with our traditional sounding of the bowl. We sound it 3 times. First of all, for our ancestors. Then we sound it for those of us here and now. And lastly, we sounded for the future, which we hold in our hearts, hoping for a lot of things. Our opening words today are as follows. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. And for chalice lighting, Carissa.
Today's chalice lighting words come from Reverend Suzelle Lynch. The flame we kindle in the chalice of faith holds blessings of warmth and light and life-giving energy. It shines forth a beacon to guide us all home. It lights up our longings to connect and to share. It possesses the power to shape a world where equity and compassion reign supreme. May this warmth and light and life-giving energy celebrate the blessings we have claimed and help us extend them in hands and hearts that offer these blessings to all. And now we will have our opening song, Gather the Spirit. That's hymn number 347 in the Singing the Living Tradition hymnal, the Gray hymnal.
Please be seated. This morning's covenant words come from our shared Unitarian Universalist value of equity. These shared words were adopted a year ago by the member congregations of our Unitarian Universalist Association at our annual General Assembly. Equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. And now I'd like to introduce our Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration, Robert Tidwell, with a story for all ages.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Our story today is called Tiny the God, and it's by Becky Brooks. And later in the story, there's going to be some audience participation. So when I hold this up, you're going to whisper, "You are not alone." Tiny the God. Once upon a time, there was a tiny little itty-bitty, very small, tiny little god named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories of all the big gods, and well, let's face it, she was a little jealous. She knew she needed to think of some kind of special spark of an idea that would make her existence meaningful. After watching humans for a long time, she hit upon something that just might work. Something to make people think, yeah, that Tiny has really got a good idea going. This was it. This was going to make her famous. Ready? Here it is. You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze, and in a voice so quiet each person heard it only in their mind, she said, "You are not alone. You are not alone." People loved it. It was perfect. Who doesn't want to hear that? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over. Every evening, she took the form of a breeze and whispered it into people's minds, until one day she encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of off about it. She kept saying it to herself over and over again. She tossed and she turned and she couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the paper, and instead of skimming everything, she found herself drinking in every single story. She was only halfway through when she found herself crying. "I am not alone," she said. "I am connected to all of these people. They live in my town, in my country, and in my world. They love their children like I love mine. They're scared sometimes, and so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone. I can help." Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her that someone might think of it that way. Tiny kept watch over Miriam to monitor this interesting development. Miriam and a coworker met online in a meeting and talked about a law that they hoped the Senate would pass, and Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote a letter to her senator about it right away. She noticed that when Miriam turned in her grocery order, she bought a few extra things for her neighbor, and she left them with a colorful note on their porch. She noticed that Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined in her congregation's worship on her computer, and she heard her favorite hymn through the small speakers. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra donation to her congregation that Sunday. She watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends and families near and far, waved to the dog walkers who passed by her house, and strung up colorful lights in her living room window. But most importantly for Tiny, she noticed when Miriam received a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long while. His voice was shaking. "I'm having a hard time," he said. He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair. "Take your time. I'll stay on the line with you. You are not alone. I am here." I am here, Tiny thought. Those words were an echo in her mind. She You are not alone, and I am here. Tiny heard these words like an echo in her mind. You are not alone, I am here. You are not alone, I am here. In that moment, Tiny knew that she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit, and she knew that what she wanted, what the world needed more than anything, was what Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work. Instead of just spending her evenings spreading the gospel of you are not alone, she spent her night times doing it too, and her mornings, and her afternoons. Pretty soon, she was spending every moment doing it, until she became the breeze itself. And that is why there are no paintings of Tiny, no busts or no holy books, just a breeze, a low voice, and many, many helping hands, loving hearts, and caring spirits. You can hear the echo if you listen closely. When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk their lives to cross it, at the bedside of a dying man, in the jailhouse and in the sanctuary, separate and together. Thank you. And now if the kids can come up and get our chalice, you guys can sing us to our classrooms.
Thank you, Robert, for that wonderful story. Our generosity supports and sustains this beloved congregation and our chosen community organizations. We have chosen to be a congregation that shares our plate. Each week, half of all non-pledged donations go to a local organization that represents our values. For the months of July and August, the recipient will be the Immigrant Defenders Law Center. And I invite Janine Little up from our Justice team to tell us about their work.
Good morning. I just wanted to let you know that for our last fiscal year, we raised between $300 to over $1,200 for the Share the Plate organization. So it's pretty amazing what a small group of people can do. For the next 2 months, we do want to highlight the Immigrant Defenders Law Center for our Share the Plate recipient. They started about 10 years ago with a handful of immigration lawyers, and now they have over 180 staff members working to help immigrants in our local communities. They have 4 different offices, none super local, but they work with LA County, San Bernardino County, Orange County, and they provide services for immigration services free of charge. They have a lot of programming. The one I wanted to highlight today is called the Children's Representation Project, and that's where they're going in and helping these undocumented minors that come across by representing them in court. And without that representation, only about 10% get a positive outcome. With representation, that changes to about 70%. So it's very well needed. Beyond representation, they do also educate the children, in kid-friendly terms of the process, help connect them with social services. Of course, the Trump administration went ahead and on March 21st, officially eliminated legal representation for the unaccompanied children. So the Immigrant Law Center, along with some other organizations, went ahead and sued the Trump administration over this. And as of April 1st, there's a temporary emergency restraining order against it. So it's not, so they've helped. It's not permanent right now. And with this group, they have gotten into advocacy, looking for systemic change, trying to get their model, incorporated into county government, city governments around us. On July 1st, they joined some other advocacy groups and a few individuals in suing the Department of Homeland Security in federal court for abducting and disappearing our community members, using unlawful stop and arrest practices, and confining individuals out of federal building in illegal conditions while denying them access to attorneys. So by supporting them, we're able to go beyond our protests and writing to our law representatives, our government representatives. So I really think this is a great organization, a very timely organization, and I will get some information in the community news so that you could look up more. Just one other thing that I found out that I'm just going to say before I leave is, one of the things that's happening is when these immigrants are going to their court dates for their cases, their court cases are being dismissed. And as they walk out, the ICE agents are grabbing them because now they're not in the system. So, this law center, they're helping them, saying, no, you have to say right there, I want to appeal my case, verbally right in front of the judge, so that they're still in that system and they have still a little bit of protection. So they're a great resource. IMMDEF, so immigrantdefense.org, if you want to look up some of their materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. At this time, please bring forward your offerings to the basket here, or if you have food for the Foothill Family Shelter, that can go in the cart here.
That was too. Thank you. So it's now time when we share our deep personal joys and sorrows and life events with one another. Jaryus, are there any on no? Okay, well, we do have some that were in the here and there. First of all, well, my life event, I call it a life event, not a happiness or a sadness right now, is retiring, and it was monumental for me. It's been a okay. I don't know. I'm going to have to invent a new me because I've been teaching since I was 16. I'll probably still keep teaching, and I'm 74 now, so I've been 31 years at where I was, and I really loved the people there. They honored me greater than I can let you know. And I also spent 2 years teaching unaccompanied minors in the Office of Refugee Resettlement program we had on campus. So I know how important those lawyers are. And to have them not be available would be devastating. So what a great organization to support. That's a joy of mine. We also have a concern. For some of you know, Reverend Ellen wanted everybody to know that she has COVID, and it's a pretty bad case. She's not in the hospital, but she's struggling with it, and she really welcomes your positive energy and prayers and whatever you do to hold, concerns in your heart. So we have that. And then Jill left a great joy in the basket to share that she is, hooray, 10 years breast cancer free. So, and thank you for sharing that. And we know that, I would say that probably all of us are so full of concerns right now for the world. I know many of you are just feeling the pain of those suffering from the floods right now. Oh, sad. So there are many others that we hold in our hearts and have not expressed. So let's take a moment just to sit in silence as we offer our support, however we might do that, to the joys and the sorrows and that have been expressed and not expressed today. And then I have my favorite, meditation. So let's just really just take a moment to be together. May our eyes remain open even in the face of tragedy. May we not become disheartened. May we find in the dissolution of our apathy and denial the cup of the broken heart. May we discover the gift of the fire burning in the inner chamber of our being, burning great and bright enough to transform any poison. May we offer the power of our sorrow to the service of something greater than ourselves. May our guilt not rise up to form yet another defensive wall. May the suffering purify and not paralyze us. May we endure. May our sorrow bond us and not separate us. May we realize the greatness of our sorrow and not run from its touch or its flame. May the clarity of our ally and the wisdom of our support, may our wrath be cleansing, cutting through the confusion of denial and greed. May we not be afraid to see or speak our truth. May the bleakness of the wasteland be dispelled. May the soul's journey be revealed and true hunger fed. May we be forgiven for what we have forgotten and blessed with remembrance of who we really are. And I would say, blessed be.
Today's reading is A Shakespearean Sonnet About Doors by Ian Macmillan. It's not much to ask, just a door to lock, a door that won't break when someone kicks it, door with a keyhole. Respond to that knock, or not, my choice. It's broke, so let's fix it. The world, I mean, not the door, that's okay. It's my door to my room. Look, here's the key. The world, though, that's different. Somewhere to stay is what we all need. Somewhere to be me, and not just someone you blithely ignore when you see me sleeping on the street. Let's begin with this, a door. Just a door to start with. A door. Food. Then light and heat. The world must respond to this simple truth. Let's all have a door. Let's all have a roof. And now please join us in singing Can I See Another's Woe, which is hymn number 127 in the Gray Hymnal. Stand if you want to.
Get a better breath.
Home is where the heart is. Home, sweet home. Be it ever so humble, there is no place like home. Our culture is filled with sayings stressing the importance of home. I've been thinking of home a lot lately, as I have already spent 3 weeks this year cleaning out what is, in essence, my childhood home, the home my grandparents built. Neither of my grandparents came from well-to-do families. My grandmother grew up in a shack after her father died suddenly after a short illness, shortly before the Great Depression hit. My grandfather, a child of a broken home, bounced around between family members and even an orphanage or two while his parents attempted to get their acts together. Both voluntarily joined the military during World War II. My grandfather as Army infantry sent to Europe, my grandmother as one of the Navy waves stationed in Washington, D.C. When they met and married after the war, they bounced around Southern California for many years for my grandfather's job before he was transferred to Sacramento. While they did their first home in Sacramento, after a few years, they decided that they wanted to build their forever home. They got lucky. My grandfather had a good job as a contractor for the state. My grandmother was really good with money, and land was cheap at the time. So right before my mother started high school, they started building their own home. They did most of the work themselves. Granddad had just about every contractor's license the state offered, and made Grandmom and my mother learn about electrical and plumbing work so that they could help him. They finally finished it in 1970, every inch of it designed by them. I spent more time in this house than I did in my parents' house while growing up, as both my parents worked and my school was slightly closer to my grandparents' house. The backyard was my playground, the library upstairs above the front door was my cozy corner, and the blue-tiled fireplace in the formal living room was the stage where I practiced the songs for my elementary school musicals. Their electric organ was where I learned Christmas songs, although my timing often left something to be desired. When my grandparents had both passed away, my mother often talked about how she wanted to renovate it and move into it, but she never did. Her hoarding tendencies wouldn't allow her to ever clear it out enough for work to begin. Now that she is gone, it falls to me to clear it out and make it a home again. And it's hard. It's hard moving past the memories of what was to the reality of today, to the possibilities of the future. The heartbreak of realizing that while the house still existed, everything that made it a home had been destroyed, either from years of neglect or the damage caused by rodents and intruders, was a heartfelt loss. But I realize that I am one of the lucky ones. I still have the house and the means and ability to make it a home. Not everyone has those means and ability. Not everyone can afford what my grandparents scrimped and saved and sweated to bring into being. If someone lost their house because they lost their job, then it becomes insanely difficult for them to find another job, as most employers require you to have a physical address before they will employ you. On Friday, librarian Mikhail Threets posted a video on social media of him holding a sticker with a quote from author Blair Imani and reading it out loud. The sticker read, "Be an active participant in making the world less terrible." And let's face it, the world is pretty terrible right now. We try to hold on to the good parts, but we sometimes forget that we have the ability to be active participants, that we have the ability to make the good parts come into being. This is why it is so important to me that MVUC pursues building affordable housing, and that we don't delay. We have access to the means and ability to provide homes, nice homes, stable homes, to people that have not had the benefits and privileges that the people in this room have had. We have the ability to build homes for single mothers who left abusive relationships with no other support, for families that fell on hard times due to sudden disability. We have the ability to change people's lives for the better, all by providing somewhere for them to live. Thank you.
What is your mission? What is your congregation's motivation for building affordable housing? For the Christian workshop leaders, pastors, and congregants at an affordable housing workshop several of us attended recently, the answer to those questions seems simple and straightforward. Their missions were variation on to do God's work, and their motivations for building affordable housing were to do as God tells us, help those in need and share what we have. We Unitarian Universalists tend not to have easy answers to most questions, and certainly not to philosophical ones. I suspect that's why many of us are here. We cherish the ability to think for ourselves and examine and define our own beliefs. I believe strongly in the importance of sharing our land and providing housing to those who are struggling, and yet explaining why I believe that to others who aren't familiar with our faith required reflection. I didn't and still don't have a one-sentence answer, but if I'd had a few minutes to speak to the others in the workshop, here's what I'd have said. I would start by explaining what Unitarian Universalism stands for. A year ago, we adopted new language to describe ourselves as a denomination, and we now uphold 6 shared values and covenant to help the world move closer to representing those values, all of which are centered in love. Those values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, theology. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. And generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. And finally, equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. I think that a discussion of our values would explain to someone why Unitarian Universalists are called to build affordable housing, but I would also want to explain why our congregation, Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation, wants to make affordable housing a reality on our property. At MVUUC, our answer to what is your mission is longer than that of the Christian churches we met with. It was developed by our congregation several years ago, contains 4 paragraphs, and highlights 4 aspects of our mission: caring and fellowship, spirituality and purpose, principles and practices, and service and social justice. In this paragraph, we say our mission here includes taking action for social justice and a sustainable environment and serving those in need throughout our congregation, the community, and the world. MVUUC has a long history of individuals and groups working and volunteering in service and in support of social justice. Our folks have demonstrated for the rights of all, cooked for the hungry, walked for the hungry, sent letters and postcards to get out the vote, adopted families at the holidays, gathered hygiene supplies and warm coats and blankets, shared our collection plate with our community, and so very much more. We have always been big-hearted, but we've never been big budget. Our generosity has sometimes been limited by reality. We now have the opportunity to perform a definitive act of service that could ultimately help sustain our congregation too. One of our workshop leaders, Jill Shook, wrote a book called Making Housing Happen, Faith-Based Affordable Housing Models. And she begins her book with a quote by Ray Backey: "Too often, our outreach projects are catching bodies as they come over the waterfall, but we don't go up to see what is causing the situation and then seek to prevent it." Providing affordable housing on our land is one way for us to go upstream to catch people in need before they fall over the edge. I want MVUUC to bring more affordable housing to our community, to go upstream and catch people. That's the last part and just my personal motivation for being part of this project. I deplore so much that is happening in our world, and I yearn to be part of a movement that makes a tangible difference for others. This building project has the potential to change lives for generations to come. And I want folks who've never heard of Monte Vista to recognize us as the church that builds safe, welcoming, attractive, affordable housing. And I want people who share our values and embrace our mission to know us and then see our faith in action, and then visit us, become one of us, and join in living our values. Now, I know I said I can't call up a Bible verse about my motivation, but I will paraphrase the book of Matthew to say that I don't want us Unitarian Universalists to hide our light under a bushel. I want us to shine a light from 40 to 70 new apartments on our land inhabited by individuals and families who need shelter. In the words of Professor Matthew Desmond, housing is absolutely essential to human flourishing. Without stable shelter, it all falls apart.
And I'm third because I'm the last in alphabetical order. And we did not discuss with each other what we were going to say. So this is so interesting how it's flowing. And you can definitely see who we are and how we present. Okay, so I definitely was a recipient of affordable housing when I was young, having lived in my earliest childhood in a Quonset hut, first of all, with a bunch of cats, apparently for some science project that was being done at the university, and we somehow took care of them and got a place to live. And the second place was in a large housing project on the edge of a river in Oregon, and it was quite a place. But the majority of my childhood years were spent in South Pasadena during the late 1950s to the mid-1960s. And at that time, the unhoused population in this country was really low. At least that's what history says. It was so low that most people that were unhoused were actually, as they said, single white males who mostly stayed in inexpensive hotels, like flop houses in the cities. They weren't visible. I remember a point in time in my neighborhood when gossip spread among the kids that there were people living just north of town under a bridge on the train tracks. Someone had actually seen them. This was fascinating and really exciting, mysterious to me and my friends, and we decided to go looking for them. We spent a few hours one day walking north on the train tracks, like quite north, but we never found them. However, I didn't give up hope that I might catch a glimpse of them, eagerly looking out the window each time we crossed a bridge over the train tracks. Now, as we know, the situation is much different. Increasingly everywhere, unhoused people are a part of our everyday landscape. And as we know, there are many reasons for this situation. However, the number one reason is lack of affordable housing. And as we know, this has reached crisis proportions in California. And as we also know, state and local governments are scrambling to find ways to build affordable housing. They've been mandated to solve the problem. Across the nation, as governments, developers, and faith-based organizations have realized the potential of their often large and underused properties, faith-based organizations are finding opportunities to help solve this housing crisis. And so the question today we ask is, what is the Unitarian Universalist role in the faith-based affordable housing movement? And this leads me to ask two more questions. Exactly what defines a faith-based organization? And secondly, does Unitarian Universalism fit the definition of a faith-based organization? I decided these questions required some online research. This is what I found, and I thank AI for being the most succinct. The first question, the answer was, a faith-based organization is a nonprofit entity that it is either sponsored by or draws its mission and values from a religious or spiritual group. These organizations often provide social services, community development programs, or other charitable activities while integrating their religious beliefs into their work. And the second question, the answer was, yes, Unitarian Universalism is considered a faith-based organization, though it is non-creedal and non-dogmatic. It is a liberal religion that emphasizes individual spiritual growth and ethical living, drawing from diverse sources of wisdom, including various religions and philosophy. So there's your teaching for the day. And I thought it was beautifully well said, both of those. So, I am Unitarian Universalist because it is non-creedal and non-dogmatic, and although all of our personal explorations, understandings, and choices of how we find and express our individual truths and meaning may differ, we are held in community through our common shared values and the belief that love is at the center of these shared values. I believe that love is at the center of all faith-based organizations, and that although the language and the source of inspiration can vary widely, the desire to serve in love is inherently natural, and that in time when so many have lost sight of their common humanity, in this time of hate and destruction, it is a vital necessity for faith-based organizations to join together in serving humanity, the earth, and all life. If a member of a Christian-centric organization were to declare that they are taught by Jesus to be loving and generous and to care for their fellow humans, and thus they are following the will of God in seeking to build affordable housing, a Unitarian Universalist might say that the values we hold in common inspire us to cultivate a spirit of generosity, uphold the dignity of all people, and work for a just and fair world for all. And thus, we are moved to build affordable housing. So what is important here is the heart and the outcome. And as for the question, what is the role of Unitarian Universalists in faith-based affordable housing? I would answer that it is the same as that of any other faith-based organization. Because of SB 4, because of our land, because we are the Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist congregation, we have an opportunity to manifest our values in a tangible way that will profoundly change the lives of many people for a long time into the future. And if the time to do this is not now, when is it? Thank you. We're going to sing together one of our favorite songs, at least it's mine, so I hope it's yours. So we'll build a land. So let's arise in body or spirit and sing out. We see the G word. You can fill it in however you feel.
I invite Catherine to come up and extinguish our chalice. And our chalice lighting words today are from Amy Zucker Morgenstern called It Becomes More. When we take fire from our chalice, it does not become less. It becomes more. And so we extinguish our chalice, but take its light and warmth with us, multiplying their power by all of our lives and sharing it with the world.
Our closing words today come from David Hicks McPherson, called The Lifelong Goal. To wish for compassion, to pray for courage, to bear sorrow, to strive for sureness, all these are qualities for which each of us should be grateful. But to feel a genuine fellowship for the whole human family, to act so that our empathy is evident wherever we go, that's the object. That's the lifelong goal. Now we will enjoy a postlude by Lily, and everybody is invited for coffee and conversation afterwards.